Good morning, YouTube. I'm looking at myself on the camera and thinking, why do I always do my videos with no makeup, like roll out of bed? Maybe I can call it an homage. I'm doing an homage to Spoon-Fed No More because, you know, she looks adorable when she rolls out of bed and drinks coffee. I don't. I think I might have a few years, though, on her. Today's Kingdom Song is another Jehovah's Witness anthem. It is a stirring march like many of their more memorable songs. It's got the expected high notes, like it's ridiculously high key, especially for such a warlike song. It's got the apostrophe, but as I was preparing for this video, I started thinking about the fact that so many of the Witness songs are warlike marches with lyrics about battles and armies and enemies and Armageddon and destruction. And this is interesting because witnesses are essentially pacifists and won't even serve in the military in non-combat capacity, like at all. They won't even let their followers take martial arts classes or really pay any attention to their physical fitness, never mind doing any actual fighting, like ever. But what if you are not familiar with them and you were, say, a government official somewhere who was assigned to research them for some reason? All this stuff about warfare and destruction and theocracy sure does sound extreme, doesn't it? So when you hear your favorite Jehovah's Witness bemoaning the fact that they're banned in Russia, wondering why anyone would ever think Jehovah's Witnesses are extremists, you can remember this song. It was number 174 in 1984, number 43 in 2009, and number 126 in the 2017 songbook. It's called Stay Awake, Stand Firm, Grow Mighty. The song debuted in the 84 songbook, as I said, with 4 verses. In 2009, it was shortened to 3 verses and turned into a chorus song, meaning they just took the last 2 lines of the verse and made them recurrent. It's got a weird melody, as usual, and it's difficult to sing, as usual. Stay awake, stand firm, grow mighty, in the warfare that is right. Well, if you want to get technical, witnesses actually teach that no warfare is right, except theocratic warfare. Oh, what's theocratic warfare? I'm so glad you asked. So, I'm putting a link in the description to an article on Trimmer.com, which is really, really clear, succinct description of theocratic warfare. Essentially, witnesses believe that they are able to tell half-truths, actually blatantly lie, or manipulate the facts in order to protect their faith or convert new members. So you see this in the process of Bible studies and also in things like court cases, child custody cases, in case you missed it. The warfare that is right consists of lies and manipulation in order to further the interest of Watchtower. Got it. So in 2009, the second line became, be determined to endure. Well, Jehovah's Witnesses behave as if their entire lives are nothing more than trials and tribulations to be endured until Armageddon comes and everybody else on earth is slaughtered. Best life ever. Carry on as men undaunted, for the victory is in sight. You know, I don't see anything except documentaries about cults. Lots of those. And lawsuits. Once again, I have to ask, since there are far more women in the organization than men, are the sisters expected to carry on as men undaunted as well? Or what? In 2009, this was changed to carry on as men of courage, for the victory is sure. So, we're still carrying on as men, but we're doing it without the unnecessary apostrophe now. But I think if we are all really carrying on as men, there are going to be a lot of disfellowshippings in our future. In 2017, this line was changed again to carry on with manly courage. Manly courage? Really? Because, you know, we all know that women by nature aren't courageous, right? Ever. No. We exist to wash the feet of manly men like men, be pretty submissive, weaker vessels with tits. I mean, you know, our heads are smaller than men's and we don't have penises, so obviously we don't count for anything. Oh wait, except when the Watchtower is making propaganda videos. Apparently women are capable of the kind of courage it takes to go to strange gay farmers markets and spout bigotry and ignorance at people who are trying to raise funds for charity. Don't know what I'm talking about? Go to Google and put in convention videos. It's utterly ridiculous.
Under Christ the greater Gideon, we will warm the cup of Midian. Soon the battle cry will be given, putting enemies to flight.
Okay, so in case you don't remember this particular Bible story, Gideon was apparently some kind of military genius. How convenient that he rhymes with the people he was supposedly killing here. And then, as a side note, have you ever noticed how Jehovah's Witnesses really like to give Jesus these weird titles and extraneous names? You ever notice that? Like, he can't just be Jesus or Jesus Christ. He's got to be Christ Jesus, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Michael the Archangel for some reason, the Great Teacher, Prince of Peace, the Mediator, and now the Greater Gideon. Anyway, obviously it seems meaningful to witnesses to hear that they're around the camp of Midian. But what did Gideon actually do to Midian? Well, personally, I think this is just rich. Gideon won the battle against the Midianites because he tricked them. He tricked them. So Gideon had 300 men and the Midianites had like 13,000. So Gideon gets his guys to all carry torches, but he covers them with clay pots. And he waits until the middle of the night and then has everyone blow their horns all at once and break their clay pots, giving the impression of this huge force attacking. And the Midianites freaked out and ran away, thus being defeated by Gideon. I'm more amazed that the witnesses are basically singing here about following Gideon's example. Unwittingly, I think. They're basically admitting that they're tricking people. That's an Easter egg if I've ever seen one. So in 2009, this was changed to, "We obey Christ Jesus' clear command. Under him we firmly take our stand." And then the last lines of the verse were turned into a chorus. But I want to know what clear command they are actually referencing here. Here we go again with taking a stand. Why are these songs so repetitive? It's like if you've heard one, you've heard them all. Maybe that's why they're all so weird. They're trying to differentiate them in some way, like give them a freaky melody. And, oh yeah, that's the one with the high note that only dogs can hear. I don't know. As for carrying on right to the end, you know we used to get counseled for carrying on, right? Kind of sad, actually, because we know Jehovah's Witnesses ain't woke. And most of them are definitely not firm. In fact, many of them are quite squishy. And they do wish they were mighty, but they're too obedient to be considered mighty, because obedient and mighty don't really go together.
Stay awake and keep your senses always ready to obey.
What? Y'all, sleep deprivation is real. Ask anybody who has small children. If you stay awake long enough, keeping your senses is pretty much out of the question. But we already established that the witnesses ain't woke, so let's move on. Always ready to obey? Always? Like, always ready to obey? And wait a minute, obey who? I bet you can guess.
In his place each one be heeding what Christ Jesus has to say. From his fine example we discern how Jehovah's faithful.
Oh, good grief. First of all, we've lapsed into some sort of grammatical fourth dimension here. Be heeding? Seriously? And let's talk about what Christ Jesus has to say here. Coming on the heels of the admonition that we should always be ready to obey, this looks an awful lot like we're being told to always be ready to obey the Watchtower Society, no matter what. Because we all know that they consider themselves to be the mouthpiece of God on earth, unless they're being questioned by the Australian Royal Commission, in which case they acknowledge that their regular assertion that they speak for God is quite presumptuous. Anything Christ Jesus has to say would doubtless come through them, right? But there's even more to unpack here. What was the fine example that Jesus set? Well, he was supposedly willing to come to earth and be tortured to death for no apparent reason other than Jehovah said so. So witnesses are basically being told here that they should be willing to undergo torture and die for the Watchtower, and in so doing, would they earn Jehovah's favor. In 2009, this was changed to stay alert to Christ's direction through his faithful slave today, heed the counsel of the older men who protect his sheep and truth defend. And to this I must say, gag me with a spoon. Clearly, our analysis of the older verse was dead on, because this is even more blatant. Who calls themselves the faithful slave? Well, it sure as shit ain't Jesus, that's for sure. No, it's the older men, the oldest daughters, the octogenarian governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
So as one we serve as an army, ever loyal to God's way.
Yuck.
Stay awake, always be patient. On Jehovah learn to wait. For his hand controls all matters. He will never act too late.
By this logic, Jehovah has just been going around torturing humanity for ages, like a mean little kid setting bugs on fire with a magnifying glass. But we're supposed to wait on him to make things right instead of, obeying the law or reporting things like child molestation to the authorities. Women are supposed to wait on Jehovah to do something about husbands who are abusive instead of leaving or calling the police. And if they do leave, they get punished. And if Jehovah doesn't act, and he never does because he's not actually there, people. If he doesn't act, that evidently means that the poor battered wife or molested child wasn't worth saving according to the almighty creator of the universe. This is sick. Sick, people. I mean, waiting on Jehovah is like waiting in line at the DMV. But at least at the DMV, something eventually happens.
As the Gideon's blinded men, our commander soon will tell us when. So obey his rules for the battle. It will God's name vindicate.
Obey. Did you get that? Obey at all times. In case you missed the message, obey. And once again, I want to know what Jehovah has done that requires his name to be vindicated. See, to vindicate is to free from blame or guilt, according to the online dictionary. So, what is Jehovah so freaking guilty about that he has to be vindicated constantly by Jehovah's Witnesses? Oh, maybe it's all the abused women and children. Maybe. Anyway, in 2009, this verse was deleted, and what was verse 4 became verse 3.
Stay awake, remain united, as the good news we defend, and to Theocratic Order, it is vital to attend.
If the news is so good, then why, and from whom, does it need to be defended? And if theocratic order is really controlled by the authentic, almighty, omniscient, omnipotent, benevolent creator of the universe, why is constant vigilance required to maintain it? If God were real and there were any other entity out there who could even remotely successfully challenge him, what exactly did Jehovah's Witnesses think they would be able to do about it? Well, in 2009, they removed theocratic order from the equation. Too culty, I guess, and replaced it with this: though our enemies will fight it, we will preach until the end. And seriously, who are these enemies they keep going on about? Who? They don't have any actual enemies. If you ask a Jehovah's Witness who the enemies are, they're going to run down this list, okay? Here we go. Satan and the demons, who don't actually exist. Apostates, who are just justifiably angry over being abused, blamed, ostracized, and shunned. I mean, having your family destroyed because you dared to think or be a human is not acceptable. Governments, who are doing their jobs most of the time. Opposers, which is a generic term that they use to describe people who were never Jehovah's Witnesses, but who actually see it for the cult it is. Y'all, none of these are actual enemies. No one cares if they preach until the cows come home as long as they don't break the law. They're not doing some big grand special thing by going out in service, knocking on doors, or standing beside carts playing on their iPhones. They're just being used by the Watchtower Society to make money.
Let us shout with all God's warriors. Lift Jehovah's sword and Gideon.
Gideon didn't actually use his sword against the Midianites, did he? I mean, he supposedly had God telling him what to do, which is kind of an unfair advantage even if he was drastically outnumbered. And y'all, he tricked him. So he's smart, but they ran away. That's not the same kind of defeat as if... So in 2009, this was changed to join the shout of praise throughout the land. Look, Jehovah's day is soon at hand. But if Jehovah actually exists and is in fact the Almighty, wouldn't every day be his day? And would he be so insecure that he needs constant praise and worship in order to function and not just lose it and kill everybody? It's something to think about.
Stay awake, stand firm, and grow mighty. Carry on right to the end.
Well, I do enjoy laughing and carrying on. Small suitcases, too. Saves time and baggage claim. But, I think it might be a good time for a nice nap. Growing mighty makes me sleepy.
Go to sleep, sit down, you're crazy. Humans need to sleep, it's true. Constant stress is so unhealthy. Doomsday predictions too. Do some research, please, there's no excuse to obey a command.